Hey guys and gals, it's Age of Blaskin here, and I'm here to give a slight review on, it's like a way overdue review of this older version MacBook Pro, 13-inch. The reason I'm making this, because this is a long overdue review from a point I actually owned one of these, and we're going to be going based off my own personal experiences with this machine. Although, to make note, mine is no longer in service. And for one of two reasons. One, let's just say here, I got tired of it. It was going back to PCs and, especially found out all the stuff in college was running off PCs for my particular program. Although some would say, oh, but you could install Windows. Yeah. But then having to pay an extra $200 just... No, actually, at the time, it probably would have been about nearly $400 for a copy of Windows 7 Home Edition. And it still wouldn't have been that much better. Especially when it comes to one of the other things. And that is, oh boy, how do I put this? The experience I had with trying to get Linux and Windows installed was a major pain in the ass with a MacBook. And eventually when I did, well, let's just say here, the trackpad wasn't that great. Then again, I'm coming from being a PC user to a Mac user. And a lot of things were foreign. And every day I look back at this, like, why did I buy this? I would have been better off with, like, an Alienware for the same price. And for good reason. A comparable Alienware machine for the same price would have had way better specs. And here's the thing. My stupid self went for, okay, which one has the biggest hard drive? Instead of, which one has the best processor and video card? Like I go at now for when I'm looking for computers. Stupid me. I went for the one with the biggest hard drive space and the most amount of RAM. Which was probably the dumbest decision ever. On the factor, all the MacBook Pros all had the same video card. A NVIDIA GeForce 320M. Which, mind you, at 2010 was... No, that was probably only top of the line in 2009. Not 2010. Never mind. Yeah. With Apple, you're always going to be a generation behind, if not more. And that's something I found out very quickly with the Apple world. Although, the only convenience was, okay, the safe charger. Convenient, and for a while, it was a great way of charging things. Swap it back and forth on the charging port, no problem. It would charge either way. And, although, and the greatest part was, the same week I ended up having a similar issue my mother did with hers. She bought a PC, I bought a Mac. And this is like the only point I could really give for Apple during that time period. Was she accidentally tripped over the power cable and broke the charging port. Yeah. That's where I give Apple a point there, which unfortunately that point's now being taken away with the latest edition of the MacBooks, no longer having the MagSafe power connector. Now they're going for that USB-C shit for their chargers. Which, I guess is another way for them to make money on the factor of, oh, you trip over your cable, prepare to have either the cable snap with the charger bit still in there, or drags your whole computer down to the floor with it and smash. So that's where this model was actually pretty good. I don't know, I think I heard like the 2013, 2014 models are the last ones to have that. Before they fully went full retard. And I guess, at the time, it ran, one of the emulators I loved using, which was Dolphin. Ran a heck of a lot better on this, and I owned it for about 2 years. And I got a good amount of work out of it. But here's where I managed to kill my MacBook Pro and why it was no longer in service. One, I used it so much to the point where one of the cells, the battery was nearly exploding. And this is where the really screwed up part of the trackpad comes into play. They put the battery underneath the trackpad. Granted, a good majority of the times, if not, I was using an external mouse anyways, so it wasn't too much of a trouble. But yeah, almost had an exploding battery on my Mac, and that was never a good thing. And two, I threw some hackery and amongst other things with this, using the Windows 8 preview build, or the consumer preview. I installed that, and then I forget the software I used, but I put on some other stuff to try to overclock this Core 2 Duo. And I figured I'd give it a test, trying to run Crisis at max settings. Oh, buddy, did the thing not only crash, but crash and burn. Like, I caused it to overheat. It couldn't thermal throttle. Gave me a blue screen of death and then a little puff of smoke. And I smelled burnt circuitry. Granted, this is a little bit after my warranty gave out from Best Buy. And also, my Bluetooth Wi-Fi card decided to go kaput on me at this point too, so I could care less, and I basically killed a MacBook Pro playing Crysis with an overclocked CPU, and basically taught me one of two things. One, never buy a Mac if you're going to game. And two, never overclock a laptop processor, no matter how tempting it is. It's just going to end up in disaster. But boy, was it worth it. Granted, I was able to salvage the hard drive out of it, as well as the RAM, and give all those to my friend who had a MacBook. Well, actually, I kept the hard drive, the 320 gig, because I later used that on PlayStation 3. I'm currently using it now as my DVR hard drive for my OTA converter box to record shows to. So, I'm actually surprised the hard drive outlived the computer it once ran info from. That's the one surprising factor about this. Now, as for other parts of the MacBook that I actually kind of liked, the music creation suite was actually kind of cool to mess around with, and GarageBand was kind of a cool little add-on. When I had a working electric guitar at the time, I would plug my electric guitar into the MacBook Pro, and from the MacBook Pro to my stereo system. Which would then become my amplifier. And the cool thing with the MacBook Pro and the guitar recording section on GarageBand is that, or I guess Studio Logic Pro or whatever you call it, for the Pro version equivalent, was that you could have a monitor turned on and basically make your computer into an amp with a crap ton of effects. So it's like I had over 100 pedals on this one piece of software, which was amazing. And I kind of liked it, especially when I was starting to learn how to play some Rage Against the Machine songs. Mostly Killing in the Name of and Bulls on Parade. And I'm getting the right effects down and everything, configuring it just right. And it was just perfect. Everything from wah-wah to distortion and beyond. And it was just perfection. That's where I'll give the Mac credit for right there. But I'm sure there's, PC equivalent programs that can do the same thing nowadays. So, as for the few times I did game on this, besides emulators, I did buy on the Mac App Store years ago in college, because I just wanted to see how much better Call of Duty 4 would be with a keyboard and mouse. I figured, hell, I'll buy Call of Duty 4 a second time. I owned it for the 360, and then I bought it on the Mac App Store. So I wanted to see how it would play with a keyboard and mouse. Loved it. The only thing I hated about the PC/Mac port was all the hackers and all the cheaters. But I guess that should have came with the territory. Steam came to it. Whoopee. And that was when I bought the orange box. Not bad. I believe also GTA Vice City stories around, or not Vice City stories, but Vice City around that time too. So, both good games that I liked. So, and I believe the one other game I had on the Mac that I bought from the Mac App Store was Flat Out 2, which was sort of the PC's answer to the Burnout series. So, yeah, it was all well and good. So, right now, my current old school laptop kind of fills that void now. And that is an HP Pavilion DV6 turntable laptop with an Intel Core i3, which is a slightly more better version of the Core 2 Duo, or I guess the new Core 2 Duo these days. And, well, it's hyper-threaded, with most recently updated to 8 gigs of RAM. So, and the other thing about this is it took its own special proprietary RAM for this Mac laptop. Now, unlike the others where the stuff's soldered to the board, you could actually, upgrade a few things on this laptop. So, yeah. Whatever you do, learn from me. Figure out what programs you're going to need and what platform they run on. Then you buy your computer for college from there. Don't go gung-ho for one particular platform just because a bunch of friends tell you that it's worth it. And also, research the specs. And not just the hard drive space. So, because you'll regret it later down the line. So my mother had an i5 processor, quad-core. I only had a dual-core processor, Intel Core 2 Duo. So, peace out.